Hey guys, we are at Mill Hill, and it's a 8:10 in the morning test, and they are taken up towards Edgware today. This morning, sometimes they go towards Burntoke and Queensbury and things like that. And this morning they went towards Edgware. Student didn't make it. Now, I was looking at the video when the examiner told me what the fault was. It was just that they took a turn which is a little bit wide. But when I saw the video and where they described it happened, it's on a road called Farm Road up in Edgware. It's a really sort of sharp corner to the sharp bend to the left. And that's where the student made the error. But when you see the video, honestly, you really don't see it. Feels like it was a harsh decision. But sometimes from the camera it's hard to tell. I was trying to work out in terms of the car's sort of position or against the center line, but nothing was coming as well, and it was a bit harsh. To be honest, it's a really good drive. If you look at the drive, there's nothing wrong, and it's such a shame. It's been happening the last few tests, and it's really winding me up at the moment. But yeah, they came across a stop sign at the beginning, dealt with that. Mini roundabouts everywhere, dealt with that. So really impressed with the drive, and it's such a shame that they didn't get their license today, and they really should have. So yeah, hopefully I'll go and I'll sort of highlight a little bit towards the end where it is. I think it's about 25 minutes on, but don't quote me on that, and I'll try and sort of timestamp it later. But yeah, I shall comment on it in a bit. But yeah, hope you guys learn from the route. Really straightforward route, side roads, no dual carriageways. I think. Oh no, there was actually. Sorry, they joined the dual carriageway very briefly, and that was the A41. But yeah, that was simple. They joined that well and came off it literally after about two roads. And yeah, rest of it is straightforward. All right, enjoy the route. Okay, we're coming up to the first mini roundabout, and from here you can clearly see on the right hand side and ahead of you there are no cars coming. This car that's coming round us, just make sure they're not doing a U-turn. It's quite unlikely, but students going straight ahead, second exit, ace that was simple. The runner there, just keep in mind that they don't try and run across that island, but there is nothing on the right hand side, so it's unlikely they're going to do that as well. I'm kind of just going through this a little bit quickly because I did tell one of my students a while ago that I would try and give some commentary to the tests, but because these tests are like 35-40 minutes long, me going through this is just time consuming. But let's see if I can get through a little bit of it just to help you guys. Now the road splits, usually they're told that we're going to go straight ahead, and then clearly there you can see the stop sign up top on the left, and if you had to stop before because of this white car, then you have to come up to the line and then stop again. So the student has stopped now. Give it a couple of seconds. I usually tell my students 2 seconds and then start looking. And then the main reason for this stop sign is because of this zebra crossing, which you will see there is someone there. So it's a bit annoying that this thing in the middle of my windscreen is always there. I just can't adjust the camera enough. But anyway, hazard ahead on the left. They're waiting. Student gets through nicely, reduces the speed appropriately, and then carries on as necessary. And then they just carry on. This is pretty straightforward. You will enter now a 20-mile-an-hour zone soon. Okay, and just keep in mind where it is, because sometimes you get busy dealing with hazards and things like this, and then it's very easy to miss. So let's see if I can spot it. There you go. It's on the lamppost on the left and on the right, and on the ground. Okay. And then either they'll go straight ahead or they'll take a left turn here, and then they're taking the left. There's a car there, so make sure you keep it neat and tidy, tucked in, which the student does. And there's another car that's waiting, so they're parking up, so it's not a problem. So anytime you enter a road, just make sure you don't come in too fast, because of all these hazards that can be present. All right, so now they're in the side road. This road sometimes is a bit busy. I'm surprised they use this road, because there is a school around the corner, and then it just gets a bit crazy at school times. But maybe now, because I'm assuming it's about 20 past 8, because by the time they they leave the test center and everything like that. It's about 20-25 past for a 10 past 8 test. And schools usually are starting around 8:30, 8:45, depends. So yeah, it's surprising they've taken this route, but then you got to just deal with all the crazy drop off, well, the parents dropping off the kids. This is another blind corner, so just take your time. Sometimes a bit confusing where the road goes, but follow that center line. It bends around to the right, and then rest of it's fairly straightforward. You get pulled over a few times along these sort of roads. Plan far ahead. See as much as you can, through the center, over the top of the roofs of the cars. That sometimes helps if we're high up. And then they're being asked to pull up again. Sometimes they're asked to pull up while ignoring the driveway. So notice that they're parking right in front of a driveway. This is only allowed if the examiner has specifically told you. So generally you don't block driveways. Now what they do is they ask you to do a moving off at an angle. So they request that you park close to a vehicle like this, and then you'll be asked to move off, but the car ahead moves off, so that kind of ruin the moment for the examiner. So maybe they'll do it again. So yeah, so they want to make sure that when you move off at an angle that you leave enough space from the parked car, and also if there's any vehicles coming towards you, that you are more conscious of them. There's a 20 zone again, written on the ground, written on the poles, and this is where the school is, okay? Well, it's a little bit further ahead. So it gets quite busy later on. I'm not quite sure if it is busy now because I haven't really gone through the video properly, so I just sort of skimmed through it. So now as it's going through, I'm kind of commentating at the same time as you guys watching. So fairly quiet actually. Past the school, no problems at all. Later on it gets absolutely crazy. So this is probably why they use it, because they know it's not that busy. Anyway, they're coming to the end of the road, and they're going to be asked to turn right. Now turning right is very tricky here because it is a very busy main road, but usually what happens when there's traffic, it's a bit easier to come out because people don't block these sort of side roads. So you will get an opportunity, and the examiner did tell the student to sort of edge out because the general habit should be that both sides should be clear. Well, there goes that point where I said that the side roads are cleared, but someone just blocked it. So yeah, the examiners know that students are taught that you need both sides to be clear before you kind of go out. And the only exception to that generally is if you can't see, then you start edging out, till you can see safely on both sides. But if the examiner then requests that, just edge out halfway, don't worry about the cars that are coming on your right, then, as long as it's safe to do so and no one's pulling in from the left-hand side, slowly edge out. And then that's what they've been asked to do shortly. So you'll see them pull out in a minute. I can't even forward the video, so you're just going to have to bear with me. This car is not signaling, this silver car, but I'm assuming they might turn in. But yeah, there you go, see, but no signals on that car, which is great. And there's my mate just went past. They're actually on the test as well, that car, that's the white car that went past. Anyway, so they've gone through now. That car might have let them go, and then they will be going back into all the way up this road, and then they're going to come to a roundabout at the end, okay? And then at that roundabout, the only tricky part with that mini roundabout that will be coming up soon, it's a double mini roundabout, but they're only dealing with the first one because they're going left first exit. But there's a zebra crossing right at the end of it, so it can be a bit tricky to deal with the zebra and the roundabout all together. So you do have to be mindful of that. So yeah, this is back onto like a normal 30-mile-an-hour road. They're going all the way to the end. It bends around to the left, and then sometimes you might be asked to follow signs for edgeware, and that will be on the left-hand side. And as we get past, if you can see on the left, no, you can't because this little black panel blocked the view of the signboard, but which is great. Anyway, there's the zebra crossing. There is someone there waiting. No, I can't see. No, there isn't. And then this is the roundabout that's coming up. Okay, you can see the silver car from the right coming, and then there's the bus that's coming. So it's good, at least you guys can see. There are 2 lanes on the right hand side, so make sure that you're only concerned about that inner lane where these cars are actually coming from. The other lane, which is on the right hand side, that is leaving and coming straight down towards where we just came out of, so we don't have to worry about that. So it's really important that you realize there are 2 lanes on that mini roundabout. All right, there's undercover police, and once they've gone, it's all clear. And there's, look, another roundabout. So yeah, just keep this in mind. Once they've dealt with that, they are then going to start entering some more side roads, which will lead them to do a maneuver. So as they go a little bit further, look, the bus is starting to move, and there you go, student let them go, which is good. Yeah, you got to be careful, because sometimes these bus drivers, they don't look at their signal and just move off. So it can be a bit awkward sometimes. Student dealt with that quite well. So now they're going to be asked to turn right, and then you just got to make sure you position your car correctly in this space here, so that you don't block any cars trying to go past you from the left hand side. And then they're entering a side road. Yay. So normal side road rules apply. Just stay calm, don't max out, over 20 usually, because it's usually always busy. And just take your time as you're going around. They are then going to be turning left soon. I think it's this one here, just where the yellow barriers are, all the roadwork stuff is. And now we're taking a left turn, and it feels like the student is a little bit wide over the center part here, but yeah, there's a parked car there, so maybe that's one of the reasons they're doing it. Nothing drastic, to be honest. They're then going to be turning right at the end of the road, which they'll be asked to then pull up on the right hand side of the road, and then they're going to be asked to reverse back. Okay, so there's no giveaway markings, or very faded, but the way to judge that is you kind of have to see where the curbs end, and where the curb ends and kind of turns around, that's exactly where the giveaway would be. I might try and highlight that a little bit later on. Anyway, they're going to be asked to park up on the right, and then they're going to be pulling up very shortly, and there we go. It's a bit of an abrupt one, but they've been asked to do it and not to worry about the driveways. They're then going to reverse back, and then shortly they're going to come up to the dual carriageway later on. Okay, so once this maneuver is done, then hopefully we shall carry on. Just bear in mind a couple of things with the maneuvers. As I tell most of my students, there should be no people and no cars near you at all during the maneuver. And if while moving anyone comes, you stop. If they wait for you, then you can carry on, no problem. Because it's such a wide road, we're not too concerned about the left hand side of the road. It's more the cars that are coming towards us, and any people on the pavement. Okay, obviously make sure you're doing all your checks. You won't see the student doing that because of the camera angle, and apart from that, pretty straightforward maneuver. Aced it. You can tell the driving was absolutely spot on. I mean, I'm commentating through this as if it's a pass, which is really frustrating. So far they haven't made a mistake, and even with the mistake that I highlight later on, which is I think at about 21 minutes, 21 minutes, and when they do that mistake again, it felt like it was a bit harsh. But yeah, I'm not going to say whether the examiner is harsh or not, because I don't really want to influence it according to that. But yeah, that's just sometimes we have a little bit of a biased opinion sometimes. But yeah, now they've finished the maneuver, they've completed 2 car lengths. You should be able to see your space that you started from clearly, and then once it's clear, you just end up driving off. Make sure you're doing all the correct checks, and then it's all good. I don't think I really need to say much, to be honest. There isn't much to say. You see the cars coming obviously here. I didn't put the rear view camera on. I might do that maybe in the edit afterwards, but let's see. But yeah, apart from that, student decides to then move off when it's safe. Any minute now. There we go. And towards the end of this road, We are going to come to a dual carriageway. It's the A41, which is very close to Apex Corner Roundabout, which is everyone's favourite. But they skip it. They skip Apex at this sort of time, and they Apex is basically on your right hand side. But yeah, student deals with all these cars perfectly. No issues with these meeting situations. Um, just yes, really strong drive. I mean, I hope you guys are seeing that. You know how well they've done and how hard done by it is that they didn't get their license today. But there we go. That car in front actually, that learner car is also on the test. And I know that because I saw their instructor at test center. Anyway, come up to the dual carriageway. Now, one of the rules here, which you can't see in the camera, is make sure that your lane is clear. If you have a nice angle, you can just make sure that your lane is clear. If you are more straight on, you'll need two lanes to be clear. So as the student turns, it turns neatly into this lane. So, they're not affecting that, those cars that just came past us now. So that's great. They're picking up the speed, 50 mile an hour dual carriageway, fairly straightforward, and they're going to be asked to turn off to the left just before the bridge, I believe it is. And then that will take you, I think that's Highview Gardens or Highfield Gardens, I can't remember. Anyway, there's loads of those ones. So now, coming out of that giveaway, so you've got to make sure you're neat and tidy, tucked in, and perfect left turn. So no issues with that. And then as we get to the end, we're going to be asked to turn left, I believe. Here we go. That's it. Perfect. There you go. Highview Gardens. And simple left turn. Straight off. Okay. No cars coming. Observations are perfect. Side road, you can tell students slow. Blind bend again. Quite a few blind bends in Edgware, so keep that in mind. You want to always make sure that you're never going fast on blind bends, okay? Students going to be asked to pull up a couple of times, I think, or once at least, maybe on this road, and you'll be asked, expect to be pulled up about, let's say 4 or 5 times at least. They want to see where you park, how close do you park to the curb. This feels really wide. But how close you park to the curb, and whether you're doing your MSM routine before pulling up. MSM, in case you guys didn't know, mirror signal move. Okay. Now they're going to be asked to move off. This, for some reason, seems super wide at the moment, but they didn't get marked down for this, so I don't know. Maybe it's just the camera angle again. I think the examiner is now adjusting the sat nav, as you can tell, or just cancelling the sat nav. But they're going to move off shortly. Now I'm just waiting for them to move off. Okay, so now this road that's on the right hand side, actually one of the students failed about, I think, last year. They didn't place themselves correctly inside where the student is doing now, and they stayed a little bit out and they failed on that one. But this is Farm Road. Used quite a lot on the test, nothing drastic. The only issue with this one is when they ask you to pull up on the left, there is a disabled bay on the left, so do not park in that disabled bay unless examiner allows it. And then usually there's a space ahead here, that's why they will then ask you to do it. And the only tough part about this road really is can get a bit narrow. Further ahead it does get a bit tight, and then the sharp blind bend to the left hand side. Apart from that, nothing else is that difficult on this road. So yeah, they're going to start moving off very shortly, and then I will highlight in a bit where the fault happens. Hopefully they move off in a sec, so let's see. I think they're just waiting for all those cars to just get through. There we go. All right, so now as we get further ahead, there will be a car later on that's going to be doing some sort of reverse maneuver, and student spots that, waits, no problem at all. So yeah, general overall really good driving, as you can tell. Okay, so coming up further ahead now, it's quite wide here, and then just as we get a little bit past this bend, it starts to narrow down a lot more, and you know, it is a tough road. This car ahead of us is the one that's going to reverse back in a sec, and look, the student realizes and doesn't try and squeeze past, so that was really good. Car manages to get in, and then we're going to continue ahead. And this is now in a couple of about 30 seconds or so, we're going to come to the fault. All right, so as we get further ahead, notice we've got parked cars on both sides, and that continues all the way around the bend, to be honest. Excuse me. And so you can't really stay too close to the left hand side. There we go, we've got to deal with this car, and there's a space here, so it's not a problem. And then as we get a little bit further ahead, we should then come to the bend. Notice the van on the left hand side, we are kind of middle-ish, because we have to be, but then maybe should have tucked in a bit more there. And this is where the fault was. This is all it was, that the examiner said that they were too wide. But there's parked cars on the left hand side, so you know they can't really stay too close in. So the only issue was whether they expected them straight after the van to tuck in. There were no cars coming towards us, so to me that was a bit harsh. Not a bit, but really harsh. So I mean, it's a different story in the vehicle. Sometimes on camera it doesn't do it justice, but to be fair to the student, they've just driven spot on, and that was a real shame. And you know, when I'm looking at that, it just seems really silly that the examiner would have failed him on that. But you know, if there's a car coming and then we had to sort of swerve in or something like that, I get that. But you know, it's a bit harsh. But yeah, then they're going to be sort of turning right and going towards one of the roundabouts later on, and it will be a 20-mile-an-hour zone. And pretty straightforward. Now you can see there's traffic ahead, so there is no other way really unless you kind of edge out. And this is where the examiner actually would have said, you know what, just go out halfway. I know I mentioned that before, but this is where they also mention it. Because it's rush hour, there's no other way of really getting out. So yeah, they dealt with that quite well. Excuse me. There you go. And then now they're going to continue ahead. This is 30-mile-an-hour zone, but obviously you can't really do that. And once they get to the end of the road, there's a roundabout, and they're going to be going left at the roundabout. And that road is a 20-mile-an-hour road all the way to the test center. And it's a really long road, and it's really easy to go over that speed. So you do have to be careful. But and that's used often on the way back towards the test center. So you can see how tight it gets here. This road's quite tricky as well sometimes. Gets a little bit difficult towards these end parts. And then we're going to come to the roundabout. So let's see how the student deals with that shortly. So again, look at the speed, keeping it slow, calm. Obviously they can't go fast because there's a vehicle in front, but you know, the spatial awareness is spot on. No issues of being too close to the left cars or the right cars at the moment. And then now we're going to be following signs for Mill Hill. So you can see it on the signboard. Going straight is Burnt Oak Graham Park, left is Mill Hill, and right is Edgware. There's loads of roadworks in Edgware at the moment on the right hand side, so that's why they're avoiding it. But then they're going to go left. So let's see how they do. All right. My voice is starting to go. I can't believe I've been talking throughout this whole video. um, I don't know if it's helped, but let's see. I probably just whinged a lot. But anyway, coming up, and it's nice to have a look now even at the roundabout to see when you guys would go. So like that's another good opportunity there. Now have a look again. Anyone coming round? Not one at the moment. That grey car isn't coming round. And there's that bus, but the bus I don't think is coming round either. And then perfect. There's that cyclist who's on the left, so that's something to keep in mind. There's the 20 zone, 20 sign, sorry. It does get repeated quite often, the 20 signs. So usually when you have a 20 zone, they usually repeat it quite often. So again, this road's just long. So they go all the way to the end, and I think I'm going to stop commentating now because I don't think there's much else to say. But hope you guys have learned from it. I hope I've highlighted a few of the things that are quite important. But again, straightforward tests, and students should have had their license.